Everyone, welcome back to my channel, Bob's Garage. I got something different, probably also going to get equally low views like normal, but this is a probably about a 71 John Deere tractor, John Deere model 112, which is a 10 horsepower Kohler engine. It's an industrial engine, so it's got roller bearings in it, really well built engine. So the story behind this is I got this as a gift. It was not looking anything like this. It was non-running. All the body work hadn't been done. Wouldn't start, wouldn't run. What turned out to be the issue was bad connections in the ignition. That was it, a battery. And I was missing one tooth in the transaxle. So it worked, but it'd go click, click, click all the time. So I got it running, but there were still some other things. I don't use this anymore. So it's a great tractor. Oh, by the way, did all the restoration of the body. This was all crushed in here. This is basically entirely remade from fiberglass. So all this piece here, that was all gone. There's just literally just gone. So I made a form for that to get that shape. So anyhow, it's been running fine, but the one thing that I never got around to fixing, and I don't ever use this, I just decided it was basically more or less just being thrown out. Got a really good deal. Like I said, my wife got this for me. Deck, trailer, and a plow for the front, for virtually nothing. Got it running. Don't need it now. Got a larger tractor. You've seen in other videos. But it's a great tractor, really heavy duty construction. These will last forever if looked after. I haven't bothered when I redid it. I had it all sandblasted. I didn't get the replacement stickers, which I'll do sometime. Anyhow, the problem I got to deal with right now is when I was using it, there was a fair bit of vibration and a little bit of a rattle. So, from the motor. So that's a really good motor, but it is an aluminum connecting rod. It has basically a very complicated counterbalance system, and the timing of that is very complex. It's a Kohler K241, a 10 horsepower Kohler industrial engine. So it's very complicated. These counter shafts for balancing, you've got to be put in just the right way. So I never touched that. This was a problem that existed. I suspect, I'm going to check that to see if the timing is correct. And I'm also going to take a look at the connecting rod. It didn't burn any oil. There's no problems whatsoever. But the rattle drove me nuts. A connecting rod knock is, just drives me crazy. So I want to fix that up. I want to use this tractor for some other purposes, just some light duty things, and maybe a little bit of grass cutting around as well, but primarily just for moving things about the yard as well, and maybe a little bit of light grading of gravel. So I'm going to dig into it. I'm going to be taking apart the front of this, pull the cowl off just so it's protected. Real easy. 2 nuts on either side, and take the motor out, and we're going to take it apart, and we're going to find out what the source of this rattle is. It's still all pretty dirty as left. Renman parked. I'm confident. Like I said, I'll see if I can freshen it up at the same time. Cast iron, long life, automatic compression release, ball bearings, internal governor. It's a good motor. It's well worth saving, and these things seem to get rebuilt several times over. While I'm into it, I'm going to check out a few things as well. These crankshafts can be turned down. The cylinders can be bored out. There's all kinds of service kits available for these as well. So once I find out what it is, I'll find out, what parts I need to get it done. But that's the only thing, is the engine. I did believe I had a little bit of problem with the starter. Just sounded like it was binding a little bit, but we'll take a look at that. So we'll be getting into this video just basically with the teardown of the front end so I can get access to the motor and get it out. I'll probably just take through a few little basic steps. I think for this, I'm not going to do a time lapse. I'm just going to bring you back on certain steps as well. You put in the comments, I see so many different other videos. People will do time lapse. Some people will go into detail. Let me know what you think. I've asked that before. Well, I don't know when the battery went dead. And frankly, I don't really care a whole lot. So I'm just going to pick off where I was going to go anyways. It might be kind of an abrupt change, but got the cover off here. And I just wanted to fill in a couple more things about this tractor. Like, it's a cool tractor. This is really heavy construction. Big solid plated frame. Everything's greasable. You know, roller bearings, taper bearings for the front. It goes on and on. Anyhow, lighting may not be ideal here, but this is a conical drive for the deck. So in other words, you apply pressure against here, and that there's a bit of a frictional material pushes against the motor, and that's what engages the deck. Back here is, and you won't be able to see it very well, but back here, the inner V-belt is for the drive. So primary drive is a belt, but the cool thing about this is it's a variable speed. So basically the front and the back V-belts open up and close, and that changes the ratio. So this is effectively a speed control here. You can go fast and slow. So this can go just down to a real low creep. For that then goes down to the transaxle. This is a 4-speed. Flip this out here, and this gets you into that low range combined with this variable speed, and you can just inch along. It's ridiculously slow. It's a solid tractor. You know, like I said, it's got a few little things I need to work on. There's actually back in there, I'll show that to you later, but back in the drive, there's a pivot that's actually got a nylon bushing, and it's a little bit seized up, so I got to fix that as well. But I'm going to take the motor off. It really came out here to get a few more images of the governor. I'll take the cover off because I remember I had a heck of a time getting it all right. It can spin around. So I'm going to get a few pictures of that. And then I'm going to plunk the motor out and we'll do it. So motor is, I don't know if you can see in there, Kohler, a model K241 AS. So, you know, it's a roller main bearing for the crankshaft, and just a plain bearing for the connecting rods. And cast iron block, so it's, as I said earlier, it's machinable. So you can actually go under on the crankshaft, you can go over on the bore, you can get pistons, and you can get bearings to suit that. So I have no idea if somebody's been in that before. When we get it apart, we'll take a look. So I don't think I'll give you the details. You know, there's 4 bolts on the bottom. The 2 cables, one for the choke and one for the throttle. Just going to get a couple pictures to make sure I get the linkage right. And 4 bolts on the bottom. Disconnect the drive belts over here, and the motor comes right out. So it's really easy. I've had it out before. So I think I'll bring you back when that's done. So I've got a bit more disassembled. Got the mechanism to engage the implement drive loose. I got to take this arm out. Reason for that is that there's bolts for this shroud here, 2 in the top, 1 on the side. Can't get that unless I get this out. Just got to extract this pin and be able to get that in there. The carburetor is been all taken apart. I don't know how good the lighting is here. I just made sure I got some pictures. So there's the throttle with the governor assembly, and like I said, I took pictures to make sure I get it all back together, because this is actually two separate brackets, so you have to get them aligned, and same with which hole the spring's on. And then we've got our choke as well, and that's pretty straightforward. Got exhaust off, got the fuel tank off, wiring pulled off, and something I might fix as well. The connector for the wiring harness, one wire is cut. I don't know why. I'm going to take a look in that. Oh, I can see why. There's no bullet connector in that side. So I'll see if I can put a new one on there. And then after that, once I get the belts off, the only thing left is the 4 bolts in the bottom. Got the tractor up on the stands. Could have taken that bottom implement drive off, but try to get this done as quick as possible. Oh yeah, and the starter is all disconnected as well. 4 bolts in the bottom, and slip it aside. Just detension. This is for the idler, for the drive belts, for the engine, and for the transmission. Engines, this one here, the wider one in the back, that goes to the variable drive, like I said. And this is all for your various implements. It's a bit of a complicated arrangement for the belt. Loops under the bottom idler and then goes across the top. Yeah, so it goes basically, probably got it wrong already. Yeah, it goes underneath this one, and then over this one here, the top, and then it goes back and angles to the deck. It's kind of a strange setup. Anyhow, I think I'll bring you back when I've got the motor out. I thought I'd bring you back. It's stinking hot. Actually, not that hot. It's just incredibly humid. Just had a bunch of rain. Anyhow, things escalated here pretty good. It looks a whole lot worse than it really is. Motor's out. I had to take off a couple of parts, and I can't remember if I had to do that before. Should have taken the deck off. That's no big deal. The body, if you like, had to come off because there's a rod that goes from a linkage back in this area. I'm not 100% sure where it goes now, but back in this area, it's for the drive here, the implement drive, and it's a rod that runs forward and comes out right here, and that runs the snowblower for head one and the blade I have. So I had to take that off because I just couldn't get to the 4 bolts for the bottom of the engine. Other than that, pretty straightforward. So now I want to show you, so you can get in here, set a light up, what I found. So again, recapping, and I'm not sure how well I'm going to be able to do this with one hand, but recapping, what happened is I was getting knocking noise. So I turned the engine all the way around, and I was wiggling back and forth. So there's the engine, by the way, or the internals. Actually looks pretty good. Bottom end, pretty tight. Piston looks good. Cylinder walls, hopefully you can see all that. Anyways, everything seems fine. I went all the way around, and I would be getting the knocking noise. So for those who don't know, so there's the roller bearing, main roller bearing, camshaft, and some of these marks are for timing, but this one is, I guess, an older one. It doesn't have a counter shaft. And I was checking to see if this had been eliminated or just didn't have it, but it never was designed for one. And here's ACR. This is combustion auto and something combustion relief. Basically, it's like a retard. So a spring-loaded system that advances the timing. Anyhow, everything seems fine. But I was getting the knock when I was rattling back and forth. So what I found at various points, it rattled and it didn't. And what I then found out is I moved the piston, like and tried to wiggle the connecting rod, but then I found this. I don't know if you can see that. I'm going to try to get you real close. There is clearance between the gear of the camshaft and the gear of the crankshaft. So that is probably, actually I'm pretty confident, because what I did is I held this tight, put resistance on the teeth so it's took the backlash out, and I rocked the crankshaft back and forth, and there's no knock. So this is my knock. And what I found is it happened in a few places. This is near bottom dead center, and it also happens at top dead center. So I can see if I can rotate that around right now. Just 1 second. I'm going to try to set you up here. Okay. So I'm going to rotate. This is not the easiest thing to do, by the way. Move this around to top dead center. And there's that noise again. But that's just the connecting rod. I mean the gears. So if I hold some friction there, nothing. So that is all just the gears. And it seems to be noisiest at top dead center and bottom dead center. And of course that's where it changes direction. So that's likely where the most wear. You can see galling on the teeth. Not a lot. That could just be the casting isn't that good, the machining isn't that good. These teeth seem fine, a bit over there. My suspicion is it's probably just poor machining, but also maybe some wear in the teeth, lack of lubrication. Maybe it was used a bit hard. Don't really know. Anyhow, so makes it easier, I guess. I'm not going to bother replacing the gears set. Those teeth are going to probably rattle for a while. They're not going to break. It's not like it's the connecting rod and it's an aluminum connecting rod and it's going to get worse and worse and worse. That seems good and tight, both in the small end and the big end. So it's going back together the way it is. Now, I can't even remember. It's been like 10 years, 15 years since I ran this. Don't even know what I was using for oil. Probably just straight 30. Might add a couple additives to it, but I'm not about to take apart and replace the gear set on that. That's just an excessive amount of work just to replace a steel set of gears with another steel set of gears. There is a shim on the camshaft to take up slop, but that's not going to help. This is clearance between the drive and the driven gear. So moving it up or down is not what's creating the knocking noise. It's just rattle within the gear. So I hope that helps a little bit. So I'm going to bring you back when I've got the motor back together. Hey, buddy. Oh, sleepyhead. Okay, I thought I'd bring you back to show where I've got so far. Put in the comments too, by the way. I don't go into details on these little things because I'm not sure whether it's interest to people or not. So the motor's back together, it's full of oil, and I've actually had it running, but challenges ahead along the way were the fuel pump was not sucking at first. Then I got it going, and then it was blowing fuel out here, and it was leaking oil at the bottom. So I tried to get a rebuild kit for it, but I couldn't. So I wound up getting this replacement plastic fuel pump. Well, that didn't work. These plastic end fittings are sort of like a locking in place, and I don't know if the O-ring was damaged putting the fitting in or not, but it leaked. So anyways, I saved the gasket out of the kit, put it in the base of this one, tighten up the screws on the diaphragm a bit more, and it's fine. It doesn't leak now, so that was a bit of an expensive mistake. I'll see if I can return this, but I think this is only like $16. You get what you pay for. Now, the other problems I ran into, the wiring. So it's got a neutral safety switch. So I had to try to rig this up so I can get it to start, but it wouldn't. Found out bad connections. I think I might have filmed that. Then, while troubleshooting this, I couldn't get it to start. It wasn't the switch. Battery starter's working fine, and I basically overloaded. There's a little back here. I can't see it. You'll see it a bit later. There's a little overload switch. Well, I overloaded that like a breaker switch, and it tripped. But this smoked. This is a connection here. There it is. And I can see that's the problem. This is, don't know if you can get in there very well. It's corroded, so I'll have to clean that out. But that was a poor connection. So the power for the start circuit actually goes to the ammeter as well, which is weird. And I get that start circuit, and there was another bad connection here. So I got to pull all this apart again, and I'm going to have to clean every single connection, put dielectric grease on there. But it runs fine. And frankly, the knock isn't even as bad now. Now that may just be because the oil's cold. I just put straight 30 weight in, like what's recommended for it, but we'll see how that goes. So, like I said, next thing, strip it back a little bit. I've just got basically some simple things left. Strip it back, go through electrical again. I also I didn't mention that. I broke the throttle cable somehow, probably from putting the motor. So I picked up a new cable for that. No big deal. It just goes into a pinched connection right there. Probably can't see that very well, but it's just basically a little collar that gets pinched in there. So I'll replace that as well. And then it's just a matter of putting it back together then and try to get going. So I don't think I'll take through. I did a couple little, maybe some time lapse for a couple of the electrical things. That's pretty boring stuff, but it's really just assembly, which is reverse of disassembly. So I'll bring it back when either for the electrical cleaning, or I'll just bring it back when it's all put back together. Okay. So it's been a while, and I just tried to record, and somehow it went on to time warp all by itself. Anyhow, it's been a while since I've been back to this tractor, so I can't even remember where I left off. I ran into a few problems. I can't remember. I think the last piece of the video I did was associated with the fuel pump. Everything seems to be working good there, but I do have a leak between the fuel pump and the case. I'm losing a little bit of oil. I might have to go back and clean up a little bit more. I'm not sure. I might just live with it because it's just basically wetting the block. I had a problem with the throttle cable. I don't know if it showed it was broken, but the routing took me a while. It was just too tight of a turn with the routing that was there before. Probably part of the reason why it broke. Finally found a better routing that would be on the same path as the choke cable, which kind of makes sense. But when I went to start it, I was having more problems. So sometimes this would start, sometimes it wouldn't. Cleaned all the battery connections. And then the next problem I had was, and I'll show you there, I got smoke coming from the start circuit. So there's a little, I don't know if you can see that, but there's the starter relay, like a non-automotive relay. And it takes power from the battery side. The power then goes back here. You can't see it, but it's a little 25 amp breaker, which in turn goes through. Down the far corner there is a limit switch for the deck, so the deck's on and won't start. Goes through the ammeter, then it goes through a neutral safety switch, and it goes to the starter. Well, the ammeter connection smoked, the 25 amp circuit smoked, and it cut out. You could actually hear the circuit breaker clicking. So long story short, I won't bother you with a whole lot of details, but I had to go and replace some wires. The wire from the battery, or the starter relay, I should say, from the battery side, was a washer that somebody had soldered the wire to. So I got rid of that and put a proper end on it. Again, I didn't bother putting this on the camera because it's pretty straightforward. I cleaned every connection around that circuit. So, from that positive feed through the relay, clean the circuit breaker, and then through the switches, made sure those little crimp connections were tight. I put dielectric grease on all the fittings. The ammeter, I put dielectric grease on there, and it's all fine now. Everything's good. So everything was great. And then the last thing I was going to do, been driving it around, no problems, starts fantastic every time. It started now, but it's a little bit late. And turn that off. It's a little bit late, and I don't want to fill the garage full of smoke, or that's exhaust fumes right now. But I was just getting ready to put the blade back on, which, should have been an easy thing, but I've lost the little bracket that goes between the blade that pulls it up and this front lift bar. Not to mention the lift bar is out of adjustment. So I made my own. Luckily, I keep everything. This bracket, which is ironically, the holes are exact same size, is for my old garage door opener. Good thickness, everything works good. Just cut a couple pieces off. The only problem I'm running into is the hole spacing is too wide. So I think I'm going to drill another hole basically around here to get just a little bit closer. The other thing I could do is try to adjust the rod back, but effectively I've lost travel because it's longer. So instead of doing that, I think I'm going to shorten this cable up. So I won't bother showing that. I'm just going to, like I said, going to drill a hole and see how that works. Only thing I got to do is make sure the holes are spaced far enough so that when all this goes together, the two parts clear one another. It's going to be close, that's for sure. So I got to put something right around there. Anyways, I'll have to do a little bit of planning for that to make sure I don't get it too tight. I think I got room to get another 3/8 hole in there, and it won't interfere. So I'll try that out. So I think I'm going to wrap this video up with this tractor. I've got the blade now working. I made up a very crude bracket. Still got to get a pin there, but it's good enough now. I'm just trying to find a nylock for that bolt that's in there, but for now I just got double nutted. Everything works fine. I'm going to start it up for you now so you can actually see. Just 1 second. Runs the same way as it did before, which was fine. Just 1 second. Let's see how that is. It runs fine. I'm just going to start it up, but this is how it all worked before. It doesn't take much gases on, and put the choke fully on, give it a little bit of gas, neutral. So you can't hear it now. It'll get more pronounced, obviously, as the oil thins. You'll start hearing that knocking noise. I used to compensate for it by sort of lowering the RPM of the motor so it loaded up more. Not a great plan. Now that I know it's just the cam gear, I'm not going to worry about that anymore. Just I'm going to turn the fan on in here. That will, now that I know where it's coming from, I can live with it, because I'm certainly not going to change the cam and the crankshaft to eliminate that rattle that exists between them. I'll try a few mechanic in a can type products, a little bit of additives to see if that helps. I'm not keen on going to a thicker weight oil. The 30 weight for this motor is what's appropriate for it. Get too thick, you can cause problems. It's got a simple oiling system, basically just a splash system. So I'll probably just try to treat it with a little bit of additives in there, which I've already put a little bit of zinc in this oil as well. And I'll just keep an eye on it. Anyhow, hope you enjoyed this. I said, I've always been curious. I was a little bit surprised that my motor doesn't even have a counterbalancer. I was very happy to find that the knock was just the cam gear and the crankshaft gear. Much more tolerable. Now that I know what the problem is, I can live with that. Tractor's all back together. Sorted out a whole lot of really corroded old wires from not being used. But everything worked good other than a few broken parts associated with taking things apart. So all ready to put back in use. Do a couple little odd jobs. Hope you enjoyed the video. Don't usually do this sort of stuff here, but I'm just trying to throw a few other things on the channel. Put your comments in if you found this useful. If you want to see more on it, you want to see more like this, let me know. Thanks for watching.